Nutshell's engineering team is always hard at work building new features and improvements that help sales teams save time, build better relationships, and focus on the right opportunities. So we wanted to bring out two Nutshellers who have done more to build the Nutshell product than anyone else. Here to give a quick tour of the latest major additions to our product and a sneak peek at something coming up that's very, very exciting. It's my great pleasure to bring out Nutshell CTO and co-founder Andy Fowler and Nutshell engineering lead Chris Cain. Take it away, you guys.
Cool. All right, thanks, Kristen. Like Kristen said, my name's Andy Fowler. I'm a co-founder here at Nutshell, joined today by Chris Cain, an engineering lead here. Chris,
yeah, really excited to be here.
All right.
We've been building some awesome stuff for the last couple months and really excited to share.
Awesome. Yeah, so Chris just celebrated his 5-year anniversary with us. Chris, what's one of the more memorable things you've worked on?
Oh man, there's a lot. I'd say probably Nutshell Maps.
Okay.
That was my first big project here. One of the leads on that project. I think it's still an awesome part of the product. I think thousands of people use it every day and has a special place in my heart. So.
Yeah, no, it's a very cool and very fun piece of Nutshell. Cool. Well, we're going to get started. We don't spend all that much time in front of cameras, but we really enjoy getting the chance to brag about the work that our team's been doing and to show off just what Nutshell can do to help small businesses. When we got this company together and we founded this company, we were focused on two things. The first is bringing beautiful design to small business CRM software. We had used a handful of different products out there, and we found that they consistently got in the way of sales teams. They were just clunky to use, and teams would shy away from using them. So bringing good design is an important part of our product.
Absolutely.
And the second bit is sales automation. So we recognize the value, and you've heard from it from a whole bunch of others today, just of defining the process that you use to take a lead from first contact to a final sale. And we really felt like that should be incorporated within a CRM. So that's what we did with Nutshell, and that was our aim here. When we think about sort of the road mapping and life cycle of building Nutshell, we kind of think about it in a TikTok cycle. We go off and go in sort of a big area of new exploration. We build something pretty ambitious. And then we take a step back and we think about what Nutshell already has done and what it sort of is meant to do from the beginning and refine those pieces. So we sort of go through this cycle of exploration and refinement. And so we're going to talk about a few of the things that we've built over the last couple of months that cover both of those pieces. Yep. Cool. So let's start with sales automation. We're going to click over here to our laptop here. So sales automation, like I said, this is a part of the DNA of the company, bringing all of the steps and the goals that you have in mind to bring a lead from first contact to a sale. We launched with this on day one, and over the last couple of months, we've rolled out a reimagined version that makes this area of the product easier to use, more powerful, and we're going to talk about that here. So, Chris, let's start by just sort of describing some of the nomenclature of Nutshell, and let's start with pipelines.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we talk about pipelines, we're talking about basically something that leads are going to flow through. In Nutshell, it comprises a bunch of stages, but when you think of a pipeline, you might think of a West Coast pipeline or an East Coast pipeline. Some businesses have multiple pipelines. You might have a pipeline for your high value leads. But basically, a pipeline is the entire life cycle of a lead. It can even include stuff post-sale. So you might want to follow up with a lead, a couple months after it closes.
Right. And then we sort of think of the stages which are inside of that pipeline, right? And, when we first launched the company, we called these milestones. And as we sort of learned from sales leaders and watched how people used our product, we realized that stages was maybe a more accurate term for how people use Nutshell.
Yeah, and that's because a stage isn't just a milestone. Stuff can be happening within that stage. So you might have a prospecting stage, and that isn't something that you get to necessarily, although it might be, but you'll have different tasks, different goals, and we'll cover that. You might have something like a demo or a pitching stage. All of these are different stages that you can have in your pipeline.
Yep, that's exactly right. Okay, well, so we're going to take a look here at Nutshell's sales automation board here. And the visual inspiration for this board came from sort of a PowerPoint slide that we continually saw from different sales leaders that we would talk to. We would talk to someone and say, hey, how do you do sales? What is the process? And very frequently we would be handed oh, here's the document that goes to every new sales rep in our company. And we saw these time and again. We said, that look, these columns that represent stages, that should be in Nutshell. That should be how you define a sales process. So that's how we arrived on this board here. So each column represents a particular stage of your company's sales process, starting from the beginning and working all the way to close. like Chris said, stages, there's a lot of things that happen within a stage. There's tasks that you're doing, but something that we realize that's very important is that a stage should have sort of a very well-defined goal. And what that goal is what is the thing that a rep is trying to do to take the lead out of that stage and move it into the next stage. And we kind of put our finger on two types of goals that come up time and again in sales processes. And I'm going to open up one of the goals in sort of our sample sales process here. The first is a goal that represents like collecting information. So very early on in a sales process, your goal is just to like learn about your prospect, right? You are learning their name, you're learning maybe who the decision maker is, you're figuring out contact information, maybe you're figuring out budget. These are sort of information-based goals in a sales process. And what Nutshell allows you to do is to define those goals and connect them to a stage. And as leads arrive and are in that stage, Nutshell's going to be telling you, hey, try to collect this information. And when that information is gathered, the lead moves to the next stage.
Yeah, we saw, it might be a small thing, but when you gather that information or you log that demo, Nutshell is automatically going to move that lead to the next stage. It doesn't matter if your to-do list for that stage has been completed. It's going to move that up for you because the goal at the end of the day is what's important.
Exactly. Yeah, and you just sort of said what sort of another type of activity is, and that's like activity based, right? Like it might be logging a demo, it might be some sort of in-person visit, it could be mailing a contract, getting a signature on a contract, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So that's what we talk. That's what we think of when we think of goals for a stage. And then when we think about tasks, these are sort of the things that you might do to accomplish that task, right? So if your goal is just to like get someone on the phone, you might lay out a series of tasks to try to get in touch every day, and you might even include like what is the script for that phone call, those sorts of things. So I'm just going to hop over here for our viewers who aren't familiar with our dashboard. As leads arrive in Nutshell, those tasks, which we just saw defined in a sales process, are now sort of appearing on my task list here. So I know that I have my 2-day call with Eastwood Renewables to try to make that contact. And once I do that, I move on to the next item on my list. And each one of these tasks is automatically assigned based on that sales process that we've defined over here.
Cool. You want to move on to MailChimp?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. So for those unfamiliar, Nutshell has an awesome integration with MailChimp. MailChimp's a wonderful email marketing tool that allows you to essentially add people to different lists, send them emails at various intervals. You can build some awesome emails within MailChimp. But one thing we heard from our customers is that they wanted to tie the people in their list to actually where that person is in the sales cycle. So right here, you'll see that we actually, in this pipeline, when a lead enters this pipeline in the prospecting stage, Nutshell is going to automatically shoot that lead over to MailChimp and add it to the product information list over there. And then, of course, we don't want to be emailing that lead forever. So if that lead happens to move on to the pitch stage and exits the qualifying stage, we'll take that lead out of there. And MailChimp will keep that in sync for us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a convenient segue to sort of thinking about the post-sale side of a sales process, right? So we flip pages over here to our follow-through section. We have a lot of these same capabilities that matter after a sale is won or if a lead is lost, right?
Totally. This is a huge thing we heard from our customers that's new in our neuro sales automation tool is that, just because a lead has closed, it doesn't mean that, there aren't still things I want to do with every single lead. Hey, Nutshell, can you remind me a week later with 1 leads to automatically call them, make sure that they're, going well, or we can onboard them potentially.
Yep, exactly. That's sort of a quick introduction to sales automation. We don't have time to cover everything that's in here. One piece that we do love to brag about, though, also is the Slack integration that we've built along at the same time here. So, you can receive Slack notifications as leads enter a particular stage. Maybe there's a task that has to be done and your team wants to know about it in a Slack channel. Or the way that we use it here is getting an update when new leads are won. So I'll just cheat and jump right over to our sales room. And this is sort of today's sales as new customers have arrived here. Nutshell is posting those to our group. Pretty exciting place to talk about new business. Okay, so that's sales automation, and that's a big advancement that we've rolled out sort of early to mid last year. Let's sort of shift gears and talk email automation for a little bit, right? So we talked about MailChimp. MailChimp is a tool to, send very like high gloss, like images and newsletters and that kind of messaging. Nutshell also integrates with email when it comes to like the one-on-one messages that you send, like through Gmail or Outlook, and sort of those relationships. But there was a third type of email that our customers were asking us to provide for them, and that's what we just recently rolled out a couple of weeks ago. And that is sort of for the case where you have a list of prospects where you're trying to get in touch with them. You want to, develop a connection from a cold list. You don't really know them. You pulled this from LinkedIn or somewhere else. You're trying to start a conversation. You're not trying to get them a branded message or anything like that. You are just trying to start a conversation. And when we developed this feature, we thought entirely the goal of this is to generate a reply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there, there's tools that we saw out there. There's complicated add-ons like Mixmax and Tout that are doing this and actually doing it well. But we felt this was an integral part of every CRM that I don't want to be clicking back and forth between 2 or 3 different products. My CRM should do this for me, and that's why we decided to build it.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll shift back here to taking a look at a Nutshell page. And what I'm looking at right now is Joe's profile. Joe's our CEO here at Nutshell, but I'm looking at his profile page in Nutshell. This is pretty familiar to our Nutshell users here. We've got contact information on the right side. We've got companies that Joe is affiliated with. And then we've got our sort of familiar timeline, which is the chronological history with Joe.
Sure.
I'm going to go and say, for the sake of this demo here, I've never talked to Joe before. I'm trying to sort of generate a reply here and start a conversation. So I'm going to go and hit send email here. This is a sort of a reimagined and reinvigorated email composer here. This is a little bit more advanced than where we had first launched the product, right?
Sure. And we knew if we were going to, double down on our email automation and email features, it had to come with all the, text editing features you expect from Gmail and everything else. So you can have inline images in your signature, add attachments, images, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So if I were sort of just operating in an existing world, I would send like Joe just a handwritten message here and write a message talking about our business, what it is we're trying to discuss with him. But here's where we've added new capabilities. So on the left, you sort of can see a list of templates which we've already written in Nutshell here. And I'm going to click on one of my favorites here, the Playful Bear intro. And this is an entire series or a sequence of messages that are all meant to try to get Joe's attention and to start that message. Remember, our goal here is to generate a reply. Right. So this first message, I'm just saying, hey, Joe, I know your time is valuable. I'll keep this brief, talking about what it is that we have to offer. We're trying to get Joe's attention with this fancy animated bear. And then, if Joe doesn't reply to this first message, 3 days later, Nutshell is going to automatically send this follow-up. And I can click over here, take a look at this. And, the thing about this capability is all of these messages look like they're coming straight from me. They're delivered through my Google account or through my Office 365 account. So they're going to land in Joe's inbox just like I sent them personally.
Right. And you can actually customize these messages. We set this template up beforehand. But if you want to send a message to Joe and customize it just for Joe, let him know he's our CEO. You can do that.
Yeah, exactly. And that was another principle we had when we developed this feature, that we didn't want to just build a tool that lets our customers send like massive amounts of messages that aren't going to be successful. We think there's value and success in personalizing these messages for the recipient. So I've tuned this for what I know about Joe. We didn't talk about the profile page earlier, how we pull in things like, the weather where Joe lives,
sure,
and as much sort of context as we can to help write an interesting message here. So let's go ahead and send this. I've composed this first message. I'm going to send that now. The first message went out immediately, so this is now sitting in Joe's inbox. And again, if Joe doesn't reply, that series of follow-ups is going to go out the door.
Cool. You want to look at kind of what creating those templates looks like?
Yeah, so let's shift over here. Now we're sort of looking at our list of email templates in Nutshell, right?
Yep. Let's go ahead and add a new one.
All right.
Great. So Nutshell has some built-in canned templates just to kind of get you started, get familiar with, what a template with multiple messages might look like. We're going to go with the thoughtful question here. And right now we're landed, again, this is canned content, but we have some placeholders so you can customize it for your particular industry, or just, you could get rid of it and talk how you'd like. Yeah. Just want to highlight the thing here on the left. We're able to customize sort of how many days later we'd like to contact Joe or whoever we're sending this template to if they don't reply. So again, our goal is to get contact, but we might not want to do it 3 days later. Maybe we'll give them 2 weeks and change this to 14 days. Yeah, again, another new thing with these templates, which is great, is you can share these with your team. So if you want to create a template and, I don't want to have to type this same template if I'm a team member, you can share that with them. So we think that's pretty valuable.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, we're going to save this now. I'm going to give it a name here. As we think about giving our customers tools to craft good templates, the other important bit of this is actually being able to measure the performance of those templates, right? So we've incorporated some tools to understand reply rate, so we can see our favorite playful bear intro message gets a reply 70% of the time.
Sure.
Of course, that changes the more that we send this out to different contacts. And so reply rate, like we sort of said at the beginning, that's what we think of as the most important measure of a tool like this. This isn't really meant to be the full close. That's when the baton gets handed to a sales rep to continue the conversation. We also then, of course, let you understand, are your messages being delivered and are they being seen? And some of that's more about like the subject line that you write.
Totally.
All right, cool.
Yeah, why don't we jump over and just quickly take a look at the messages that we've scheduled. Again, this is, just a familiar inbox interface. We're actually just looking at the scheduled messages. But one thing I think that's really cool to highlight here is, this isn't necessarily the fanciest feature, but we know if you're sending a lot of emails or you're scheduling hundreds of emails a day, email is a complicated thing. And sometimes, email providers will mark emails as spam. We want to make sure front and center that if you're using Nutshell and you're sending email, that those emails are being sent. So, we have this nice email health dialogue is what we call it, just to let you know that, hey, your scheduled emails are going to go out and everything's looking good.
Yeah. Yep. All right. That's sort of a whirlwind introduction into email automation and the tools that we've been building to help teams make that first contact with leads. And then that's when sales automation sort of takes over. And in fact, one type of goal that we didn't talk about earlier in stages is that often a goal of an earliest stage is just to generate a reply,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So lead in a first stage, you would set a goal of just generating a reply. As soon as that lead emails you back, the lead moves to the next stage. So it's a way that, these two suites of features work well together.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the two exploration features like we talked about earlier, big new capabilities. Let's talk about some of the refinements that we've been working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. We're going to jump back here and first start with activity reporting. Chris, talk to us about activity reporting.
Yeah, sure. So, our Nutshell Pro customers are probably very familiar with this report. Just a brief overview. This is just a report to measure all the activity that your team's doing. And this is specifically stuff like phone calls, setting meetings. We even track voicemails and notes. And of course, you can filter this down to different types of activities, or maybe you just want to look at a particular user or a team, how much they've been doing.
Love to sort of show off like the segmentation that's available.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we got some really cool metrics here. You can break that down by day, week, month, etc. It's really awesome. But one thing we heard from our customers and we knew is that just, you might be doing all this output, but is it actually leading to sales? Am I just on the phone all day calling people and saying the wrong things and losing leads? So we created this activities versus lead outcomes report, which we think is really powerful.
Right. So what we're seeing here is, since November 24th, our team has had 380 activities with different leads. But of those 380 activities, 131 of those resulted in a sale. Another 111 didn't convert. And, the rest of these are probably with leads that are still open, actively being worked. And where this gets really helpful is when it comes to coaching your team, right? So we can actually understand, okay, how do different members of my team sort of compare when it comes to volume, which we could always report on. Antonio was hitting the phones hard this week, but here's how he actually performs in closing business when it comes to those activities. And so we can understand outcome of activity by rep. And we think that's a really important metric for sales leaders to track.
You want to talk about Unbounce?
Yeah. All right. Next thing we're going to cover here is a new integration that we've rolled out with a product called Unbounce. And Unbounce is a landing page builder, a form builder that makes it really easy to put like a quick web page out on the web. So this page that we're looking here is actually one of our own pages. We are Unbounce customers ourselves. And this page is a landing page that we have out there to attract new customers. When someone comes to this page, reads about our product, they learn about Nutshell through these illustrations. They fill out this form, and a lead is added through Unbounce. And with our new integration, that lead can go straight into Nutshell. And this is all sort of configured just through a single click when it comes to this integration. And what's really useful about this is not just being able to like eliminate the busy work of going from pulling leads out of Unbounce and putting them into Nutshell, but that you have attribution for these leads that are arriving through Unbounce. So I'm looking here just a normal collection of leads. I'm actually looking at every single lead in our Nutshell trial account here. I'm going to jump over to our chart view. And we're just going to take a quick look at how our leads have been performing over time. You can see we got a big burst of leads after our conference back in May. As we scroll down and sort of look at a handful of the different pivot tables that Nutshell offers, we're going to take a look at source. And what we're seeing here is how different Unbounce pages contribute to our overall lead volume. So we can see of the 557 leads that we're looking at in Nutshell today, let's see, 263 of those came from an Unbounce page. And furthermore, we can understand which Unbounce pages are contributing to our pipeline.
Right. And again, this is looking at all of our leads. We can actually filter this down using all of Nutshell's awesome filtering capabilities. Look at just one leads, look at leads with this custom field on them, look at a particular user assignee. It's all available right here.
Yeah, so now we're looking at just our sales and which different Unbounce pages contributed to those. It's kind of like a different version of the activity outcome report. It's not just understanding like what is happening, but what activities and what leads end up in the most success for the business.
Great.
Okay, so we are going to, that's kind of been a whirlwind introduction into a handful of the things that we've been working on over the last couple of months. There's been a lot of other stuff that we didn't cover here. Our team has invested a lot in a new integration with Zapier, which has been really helpful for a lot of our customers. We've been spending a lot of time on performance, making Nutshell faster, more reliable for customers as well. But we want to save a few minutes for sort of a sneak peek at what's ahead here. So I'm going to introduce one more person here. Ian Van Schooten is going to talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. So hey, everyone, I'm Ian. I'm a product developer and designer here at Nutshell. You just heard from Chris and Andy about some of the exciting automation technology that we've added to Nutshell to help save time with the sort of drudgery and mundanity of sales processes and emails. But we also realize that sometimes a lead needs some extra special attention for a reason that a computer just isn't going to be able to understand. It might not have anything to do with the value of the lead or what stage that the lead is in your sales process. Instead, it could be that a potential customer gave you a call and is really interested in a product that you're offering. Or your boss swung by your desk and said, hey, this lead right here is really important. Like, make sure that you follow up on this. And right now, up to now in Nutshell, there hasn't really been a great way to give those kinds of leads the extra attention that they need. We heard from customers who are managing more than a handful of leads at a time that they were having trouble prioritizing those leads, and that tasks for those leads were kind of getting lost in the shuffle on their dashboard or in their task list with all the other work that they were doing. But we're changing all that. If you can switch to the screen with a a feature we're calling hot leads. So soon you'll be able to mark a lead as hot, and these leads will be instantly recognizable throughout all areas of Nutshell. For example, your task list on the dashboard will give special focus to hot leads, so that you can be certain that your most important tasks don't fall through the cracks. We'll also make sure that these leads grab your attention in other areas like the lead lists. Here's an example of what they might look like in Nutshell's lead board. We're also planning to have customizable email and in-app notification options for hot leads and special reporting abilities so you can understand how your hot leads are performing. Now, we're really excited to build this feature and help our customers become even more successful. If this sounds like something that might be useful to you or your company, I'd love to hear from you. I'll be sending out some of these early design prototypes to customers who are interested in this, getting your feedback on it, making sure that we're building the right thing for you. So if you'd like to have a hand in shaping the future of Nutshell, let us know by giving us a call, sending an email to support@nutshell.com, or drop a message in the chat right now, and we'd love to hear from you. So I'm really excited to get this into your hands soon. I'll turn it back over to, I guess, Andy and Kristen. I don't know if we have any questions from the chat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. I'll let you stay in the
All right.
screen. All right. Well,
Take it
thanks so
away.
much about hot leads. Everyone is so excited about this. I'm personally really excited as, a consistent user of Nutshell. So great to get that update. Really appreciate everybody going over that. So we do have a couple of questions from our audience. Thank you so much for everyone who's participating online. One of everyone's favorite things about Nutshell is the aesthetic. Could you speak a little bit to what inspired you or your vision for the design of Nutshell?
That's a good one. Yeah, well, like we said at the start, the design of the product was something that was extremely critical to us on day one, and we think of it not as sort of like as icing on the cake, but as like an actual feature of the product. Being able to quickly add information to Nutshell and having it sort of stay out of your way, we consider sort of a core part of a CRM. We know that the biggest sort of obstacle that people face when it comes to CRM is just convincing their team to use it and convincing them of the value. So we see design as sort of instrumental in doing that. I wonder if the question is maybe more about the actual like aesthetic of the colors and the design and like the color choice there. And I guess I would say to that, like our brand has always been one of friendliness and warmth. You know, we know that we're business software. We're like the product that people are using at work, but we're trying to bring a little bit of like fun and delight into that. So the name Nutshell is meant to be fun and friendly. Our team and like even like our Boundless like design is just always meant to be welcoming, and that's sort of what went into the brand and the design.
For sure. It's a great answer. Which features are most utilized by our customers?
Another good question. Yeah, we do a lot of work to try to understand that. You know, we hear anecdotally from our customers who are writing in and saying, you know, this is really important. Can you make this better? Can we do this differently? And then we also look sort of more quantitatively at how people are using the product. We know that our customers who are most successful, who are like closing the most business, who are growing the fastest, are ones who are using sales automation, who are actually taking the time to think about putting into Nutshell, what are the steps that I need to take to close business. We know that, you know, by showing people the value of that, and, you know, it takes some time up front to think about what is my company's sales process and to like sort of apply that thoughtfulness. But once businesses start to do that, we see them as being the most successful.
Awesome. And I guess this ties in a little bit, but how do you decide as a team what to build next?
Oh, man. A whole bunch of different ways. And we've had a lot of different approaches to that. You know, I described earlier that we sort of go off in sort of like this TikTok cadence, right, of like exploring something like brave and new, and then sort of stepping back and refining what we're working on today. So I would say that's something that's pretty consistent for us of exploration and refinement. When it comes to refinement, something that we've had a lot of experience and value from has been pulling the entire company together and saying, hey, you know, you all are talking to our customers every day. What are the challenges that our customers face the most? And we've even done something, I wish I had the photo of it here. We've done what we called sort of the bidding wars, where we had everyone together and they were placing different bids on the wall of like, hey, I think that making this sales report or this losses report better would be the most valuable thing for our team. And they were sort of, you know, every member of the company was there as a sort of a proxy for our customers, right? Were you with the company when we did these last?
I don't think so.
Oh,
no, I think I missed it.
We've got to bring that back.
Yeah,
because,
definitely.
yeah, that's one of the, you know, we've used a whole bunch of different tools. At other times we've used sort of like the quantitative analysis, seeing, oh man, customers are really using email sync and we need to improve this and make that better. So I would say it's a different blend of those things.
Great answers. And then last one, what's a Nutshell hidden gem feature? I guess you could also include any Easter eggs that you might want to share with our viewers.
You guys should answer while I pull up one.
One thing that I think is really cool that people may not know about is when you are creating a task and you are giving it a start time or a due time or an activity time in any of those modal windows, you can type in like tomorrow at 5 or next week, and it will take that and sort of like figure out what time you mean. So we try to be very conscious about not forcing our users to fit into a mold of, you know, what the computer is expecting. We want to be able to sort of let our users express themselves and enter in any information that they want, and try our best to understand that and figure out what they mean. So I think that's one really cool feature that people may not know about.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. What do you got, Chris?
Oh, man. You know, I think my favorite thing, and I alluded to it a little bit, and, you know, I'm sure our customers are using it, but I think, you know, we have 4 different ways of viewing all of your leads, people, and companies, and it all comes with this crazy long filter drawer of amazing different ways to view that data. You know, I think there's just so many hidden gems of different, you know, we were looking the other day at how many people have signed up for this many things with 20 different companies, and we were able to see, you know, the list of leads through that. And there's just so many ways to carve up your data that way that I think is pretty cool.
I'm going to end with the goofy
Please
one.
do.
So if you open up the iOS app and you go to the About page and you shake it, I don't know if I can get it on the camera here. There's a
This little squirrel.
there's a
that-
hidden gem here of a little squirrel. And, he's been with us for I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years. And, still in my
There it
favorite,
is,
so,
you
yeah.
guys. Well, thank you so much to all of you
Thanks,
for your
Chris. Thanks,
contributions
thank you.
today. So great to have you, and we'll be back in just a moment.